Hi, I'm Billum, and today I'm going to take you on a journey through time. We're going back to the 90s to experience Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Then we get to go back even further before jumping ahead to the future, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, or behind, or let's just talk about the game already. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 was originally an arcade game that came out back in 1991, but I've never played that. Instead, I'm familiar with its port to the Super Nintendo in 1992. And before we get too far in, I just want to be clear that there will be spoilers in this video. The game features everyone's 4 favorite turtles stepping up to stop Shredder after Krang steals the Statue of Liberty for him. Why did he steal Lady Liberty? I have no idea. The game never makes it clear. Maybe the manual can help out. It used to be common to put game stories in these back in the day. Yeah, this doesn't tell us anything about why the Statue of Liberty was stolen. Actually, it's kind of funny. It almost reads like one of those green text stories. Like, just listen to this. Sunday evening. You're sitting around the sewer watching your main reporter, April O'Neil, do a live remote from the Statue of Liberty. Then it happened. A humongous flying android screamed out of the sky and ripped Lady Liberty from her foundation. The Statue of Liberty burst into treats. Best pinata ever. Thanks, Shredder. Alright, those last bits were just for fun and not in the game, but you get the point. Also, humongous. Man, I miss the 90s. But that's enough messing around. What you need to know is that Turtles in Time is hands down the best 2D beat-em-up as far as I'm concerned. The game lets players take on the role of any of the 4 turtles: Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael. I'm a man of good taste, so I always play as Donatello. What's neat about the game is that each of the turtles have their own advantages. That includes different power, speed, defense, range, and other stats. They aren't just carbon copies of each other, which is a nice feature. There's also a menu option that lets players change the sprites for the turtles. The base option is animation, but it can be switched to comic. It gives each of the turtles their own unique color, which as far as I can tell doesn't match their comic appearances. Even so, I dig the darker palette they gave Donatello here. Players can go it solo or team up with a friend to take down Shredder and his goons. The game only supports 2-player co-op, which is a downgrade from the 4 players possible in the arcade version. Even so, the SNES version does have some advantages. The biggest reason to play the SNES TMNTIV is the bonus content. The game features a few extra bosses as well as a whole new level. There's also some new graphical effects that take advantage of the Super Nintendo's Mode 7 capabilities. The first level of the game has players fighting through hordes of Foot Clan soldiers until they reach the boss, Baxter Stockman. This is basically the format for every single level in the game. Beat up bad guys, move forward, meet up boss, go to next level. The first level of the game is also easy and gives players plenty of time to figure out the controls. I basically get hit by every one of Stockman's attacks here, and I'm still able to easily beat him, so don't worry about this game being too tough to get into. While Turtles in Time is easy to pick up, it does offer an incredible amount of depth to its combat. Players can perform all sorts of different moves with button combinations. There's also different attacks at certain ranges, as well as multiple mid-air kicks depending on the height of the jump when the player attacks. None of this is necessary to beat the game, but it's a nice addition for those that want more out of the combat. A couple of levels later, players will encounter Sewer Surfin'. This is the first of the game's bonus levels, and also home to one of the best songs on the Super Nintendo. Seriously, just give this a listen. Shortly after this, players will end up in the Technodrome, which is a level exclusive to the Super Nintendo version of Turtles in Time. Not only is this a fun level with plenty of set pieces and an awesome elevator fight, it also features one of the neatest boss battles in a game. When players battle Shredder, it's presented from his perspective while he tries to shoot them from off-screen. This leads to player having to throw foot soldiers at the screen to hit Shredder. I know Battletoads did something similar to this back on the NES, but it's not quite the same as here. It's clearer in that game as it drops boulders for that specific purpose. Here it's just the player making use of a throw that they can use at will outside of the boss fight. After this battle, Shredder throws the turtles into a matrix translocation beam that sends them spiraling through time. At this point, players spend the next few levels battling through different eras of time and face off against many classic TMNT enemies. That includes Slash in the prehistoric era, pirate versions of Bebop and Rocksteady, and Leatherhead in the Old West. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles eventually travel too far in time and land in the future. After a sweet Mode 7 hoverboard level and a couple of battles with Krang, they take one last time portal that sends them back to their home era. However, the fight's not over just yet. At this point, players will have to face off against Super Shredder and his various elemental powers. Yet again, I'm not sure where these powers come from. Also, that green blast isn't air and instead de-evolves the turtles, which is a bit weird. After this, Shredder is defeated and the game ends and the player wins. Unless they didn't play on hard mode. Yeah, this game locks the true ending behind the hard difficulty, but it's nothing major. The Statue of Liberty just ends up back on Liberty Island again. I feel like that really should have just been the end no matter what difficulty the game is set to. Outside of the main game, players can also tackle a time trial mode. That's not really my kind of thing, but it's a fun addition for those who enjoy that stuff. There's also a versus mode, which I got much more use out of as a kid squaring off against friends with our favorite turtles. As the name implies, there are more TMNT beat-em-up games than just this one. I've never actually played any of the others, or at least not in a significant amount. Truth be told, I don't really have any interest to either. The first TMNT game on the Nintendo is a side-scroller that I owned and played as a kid. Truth be told, I hate it, and I have no real desire to return to that game. The other two games are ports of the arcade beat-em-ups on the NES. The biggest problem is that I'm not actually a big fan of NES games. We'll talk more about this another time, I promise. Outside of that, there's the Hyperstone Heist on Sega Genesis. I didn't have a single Sega console growing up, so I'm not overly familiar with its games, at least none that aren't Sonic and a small handful of others. Maybe I'll check out Hyperstone Heist if I get the chance sometime down the line. I'm not against digging more into the history of Sega consoles. I have limited experience with the Master System and Genesis, but that's about it. I did get one of those At Games Genesis for Christmas a few years back, and I've also bought the complete collection of Genesis games on Steam, but who doesn't buy way too many games during sales? But that's enough of my rambling. When it comes to modern releases, there are none for the SNES version of Turtles in Time. There's a remake of the arcade game, but it doesn't include the extra content that this one has. Luckily, carts of this game are still easy to find for a fair price. While I have no interest in the older TMNT games, I can't deny I'd love to see a collection. Something that brings together the SNES, Super NES, and Genesis games would be great. Normally I wouldn't dare hope for that, but if Aladdin and the Lion King can get re-released as a bundle, then these games can too. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.